Hello, everyone. We're finally here
Yes.
after months of planning an amazing show, digital transformation show presented to us by the PMO Leader Global Community. I am excited to be here. Today, we have three amazing trailblazers in the project management and the PMO community. Laura Barnard, sorry. Shout out to you, Laura. We're definitely looking forward. We have Americo Pinto, Joe Pusz. And I also want to say a big thank you to our co-hosting team, Jim Stewart. Thank you, Jim. It has been a wonderful time planning this event. Manolis, I am not able to say his last name.
Papadakis, and unfortunately,
Yeah.
he can't be with us today. He's had an illness, but he was just visited with us, but he was great in helping us plan. So he's here with us in spirit.
Yes, thanks for that. So let's jump right in. So just to say a little bit about the PMO Leader Global Community. So the PMO Global Leader Community, it's a collaborative, inclusive community that is about sharing knowledge, bringing all the project management communities, PMO communities together to share knowledge, to uplift our different business sectors, industries. In the PMO Leader community, we're about also exchanging knowledge and providing solutions to add value, bottom line value to our business communities. So guys, you can go and you can check out the PMO Leader page. So today, as I've said before, for the first time, we're having our, I would say, our three trailblazers in the project management PMO era: Laura Barnard, Americo Pinto, and Joe Pusz. And they will be sharing their experiences, lessons learned, and strategies to build and lead successful business transformation, because implementing PMOs, monitoring PMOs is also a part of business transformation. So we just have a little presentation here from what we know from theory and from our studies, you know, on PMO and digital transformation.
And Mark, somebody asked you to, I'm watching the chat, they asked you to maximize the PowerPoints. You might want to put it in slideshow mode. I guess that's probably what they want.
It's actually in slideshow.
Is it? Okay. I don't know what maximize means in that case. Maybe it's a little smaller or something for them. I'm not sure.
Okay.
The view we see is the one that has, that shows all the slides, not the full screen.
Right. That's what's happening on the left, Mark. We're seeing all the slides on the left.
Okay.
Yeah, if maximize equals slideshow. I don't think you're in slideshow mode, Mark.
Or maybe you have multiple screens and it's showing on the other one.
It's okay now, guys.
Let's just keep going. That way we can make sure we get through the content. The view is not bad. It looks okay.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see the content.
Okay. So the purpose of our show today is to discuss leading PMOs in digital transformation. One of the things that we wanted to do as well is for our audience to understand the benefits linking the PMO objectives and digital transformation. And we're seeing this right now with the paradigm shift a lot of organizations are putting in strategies for digital transformation. And so we think the PMO will be very helpful in that. The other point is to understand how to use PMO as a tool to steer digital transformation in your organization and vice versa. And during all of this, our speakers will just pretty much be sharing their experiences, their lessons learned, and strategies to drive PMOs in digital transformation. So we wanted to understand
Doesn't want to go away, huh?
Yeah.
There you go.
What is digital transformation? And this is something that we came up with. Right now, a lot of businesses have remote virtual teams operating, and they're using technologies to carry out their daily routine. So what is digital transformation? It's the application of digital capabilities to enhance, increase customer value, manage risk, to pretty much at the end generate revenue to create value for the organization, businesses. So that's what the idea of digital transformation should be. Now, what is the PMO? What is the PMO? Right now, there are a lot of organizations who think the PMO should be a value management office, center of excellence. But from what we know from theory, from studies, what is the PMO? Standardized project-related governances that facilitate resources, methodologies, tools, and techniques. And later down in our show, of course, our guests will share with us some of the trends, that are now happening in the area, where PMOs are concerned, and what some of the successful and mature organizations are doing, when it comes on to the distinctive types of PMOs. We know about the supportive, the controlling, directive, but of course, right now we have many different ways of approaching this. We have other organizations taking an hybrid approach, some taking agile, and some remain traditional. So we did some research, and we try to understand what is the state of PMOs, and as of 2021, a report that we found from State of PMO, the reference point here, we're seeing some results here on the PMOs. So the intake process, the results from that in terms of portfolio management, we're seeing some results here. In terms of the response from PMOs, the expected response from PMOs, from senior management, we're seeing some results here as well. And in terms of operating as a knowledge transfer office, that is adding value to the organization, we're also seeing some results here. So we don't want to waste too much time. So we have some questions here for our guests. And these questions were just based on contagious probing concerns from our project management, our PMO community. So we're just gonna now hand over to our amazing team of panelists, Laura, Americo, and Joe, to hear what they think about the current state of PMOs in digital transformation. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
We're ready.
Absolutely.
Okay, we're ready.
Okay.
So Tim?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and just a quick thing too. I put this in chat, but we'll just introduce ourselves. We should do that as well. Mark is in Jamaica and he's a project manager there. Manolis, who couldn't be with us, is a project manager in Greece and heavily involved with PMI. I'm in the Boston area, project manager, Agile coach, and I've done a couple of PMOs in my time, and that's us. But it's not about us, it's about our speakers. So we're going to do these questions. We're going to give them a couple minutes a piece to answer them. I'll do the first three. Mark will do the second three. I'll go Laura, and then Americo, and then Joe. And then, because that's how I see them on my screen, and let them answer these, because that assessment of the current state of the PMO concerns me. So Laura, starting with you, and then we'll go through the questions. If we have more time, we'll just have a roundtable and discuss this. Laura, what's your assessment of the current state of the PMO? And what do you think of today's and future PMOs and digital transformation? Take those in whatever order you want.
Sure, absolutely. So Laura Barnard here, Chief Impact Driver for PMO Strategies. I have been in this space for a long time. Thank goodness for the genes. I look a lot younger than I am. And I'm in South Florida, beautiful and sunny. We survived our 3 days of winter, so now it's back to our 80-degree weather, so much better. So I will say this. I think that the current state of PMOs has shifted pretty quickly when COVID happened, and the things that many of us have been talking about for years, the direction PMOs were headed, right? We're those of us that have been in this space for a long time. I built my first PMO in 1999 and spent 15 years inside organizations building PMOs. And one of the things that I have seen, and that we were telling them it was coming, right? Americo and Joe, we were telling them, look, the PMOs are headed to a much more strategically positioned, what I refer to as an impact engine for the organization, a part of the organization that is responsible for helping the organization deliver on strategy. And I have a little bit different approach to what I think a PMO is. For example, yes, it creates a bunch of outputs like the templates, the tools, and the process, but that's not what a PMO is in the eyes of your business leaders. And where we're headed, where we've been headed, and COVID really accelerated that shift, the current and future state of PMOs continues to be more about the PMO being the responsible for helping the organization deliver on their strategy as quickly as possible and with the highest return on investment possible. A business function, right? We are not a project management function, we are a business function, and need to look at the PMO. And if you look at it through the eyes of your business leaders, they are looking at the PMO as responsible for helping the organization drive change, get results, deliver that strategy. So the current and future state for PMOs, and shout out to some of my Impact Engine PMO students that are here, hello, is very bright. It's very bright if we let go of thinking of ourselves as the people, process, tools function and start thinking of ourselves as the driver of change and delivery of strategy with that high ROI. So I think we're in a great place there. But I also, and we can talk about that more, it'll unfold over time, but in this conversation, but I do want to set some minds at ease when it comes to digital transformation, because this isn't new. We've been doing this for a long time. I have a computer science degree. I started in technology millions of years ago, and we were doing big transformational change projects. I mean, I was working for my college where they were the first school in the world to require students to do their theses and dissertations electronically on this new thing that was coming called the World Wide Web. Right? That was digital transformation on a large scale. Anyone heard of Y2K? We had to do a lot of digital transformation in Y2K. I was a part of the very first ever electronic mortgage, like years and years and years ago. So I want everyone to rest a little easy, understanding that this is actually not new, but it is the way we're going to keep going in the future. And the important thing to figure out is, how can you in your PMO drive that change? Because that's where your business leaders need you.
Nicely done. Americo, introduce yourself and
right.
same question. And try to top that.
Sorry, I got a lot to say about this stuff, as you guys know.
I will say just, I agree with Laura, right? Actually, first of all, thank you, Jim, Joey, Mark, to invite me to join you today. It's a pleasure for me. So I'm Americo. I'm the founder and I lead PMO Global Alliance, a community of PMOs and PMO professionals. We have many different projects around the world. I've been working with PMOs for more than 15, almost 20 years. Actually, I've been working with project management for more than 25 years, but PMOs became my passion, I could say, in the last 12, 15 years. And one of the most important things that we do at PMO Global Alliance is talk with PMO leaders and monitor what they are doing and try to create, some ideas based on the trenches experience, right? So I'm going to share with you some of the conclusions and, of course, my opinions about that when we talk about the current state of PMOs. First of all, it's important to highlight the fact that the world is really diverse. So many things will depend on the region you are, the country you live. Actually, we are talking with people from many different countries at this moment. And what I see is that sometimes I see in country A, something that I saw maybe 5 years or 10 years ago in country B. So the level of maturity of regions, they are different. So that's something important to say. The second point, complementary to what Laura said, is the fact that, in my point of view, PMOs are becoming more committed with the needs of their clients, their customers. I'm talking about PMO stakeholders, right? Because the most important pain for many of them is not being recognized by their value. So they want to be recognized, right? They really miss that, I understand. So how can we do that? And I really believe, and I can see that in the most successful PMOs around the world, is that they are much more committed with clients' needs than the technical stuff, right? It's a big shift because many PMOs in the last 10 years, the heart of those PMOs were following technical best practices, methodologies and tools. Of course, everything is important, but they are not the end, they are not the objective. Actually, they will support our objectives, and our objectives should be delivering what our clients, the PMO stakeholders, really need. So this is the first point. And the second point is that, of course, when we see more mature PMOs and more mature organizations, we can see that there is a kind of trend that the PMOs are much focused on strategic aspects, right? But again, I'd like to call your attention to the fact that it's not because every PMO should do it right now, but it's because their customers need that kind of thing at this moment. What I'm saying is, if you try to do what your friend is doing very well at his or her company, at your PMO, it doesn't mean that it will work, because sometimes your customers, the PMO customers, they don't have at this moment, because of a lack of maturity, they don't have very strategic needs. Sometimes they have a little more tactical and operational needs, like cost and time monitoring, and you can feel frustrated because you feel, wow, the best way of generating value and being recognized is to be more and more strategic, and you are doing that, but you feel that people are not seeing the value of what you are doing, and maybe it looks that the explanation for that is because you are doing something that in theory is the aim, right? but it's not so easy like that because there is a timing, and first we should be aligned with what people expect from us. And sometimes they have a lack of maturity. They are not prepared to absorb what you are trying to give them. And when they are not prepared for that, they can't see the value of what you are doing, even if you are doing very well. So that's an important point of view, so when I say that PMOs are becoming more committed with the real needs of their clients is, okay, I know what I want to be, I know what is important, but I also understand what my customers need at this moment. I know them, I respect their maturity, I support them on, in terms of evolve this maturity, but I need to plan how it will work. It's a transformation, actually, but the transformation of the PMO. So many of our initiatives and research showed us that there is no only one objective for every PMO. They are different and they should be different. And there is nothing wrong with that. So what's good for you possibly will not be good for other company. It's pretty obvious, right? But sometimes we try to find a magical response, a magical answer, a magic pill that everyone should follow. But the real life is not like that, right? So that's what I can tell you in a little complementary way of what Laura said.
And thank you. And let me move that question over to Joe. There's some questions coming in on chat, but I'll save those. Go ahead, Joe. Take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Jim, and welcome everyone. I'm PMO Joe from Phoenix, Arizona. We're having our 1 day of winter tomorrow, so we'll see how that is. And certainly thanks to Laura and Americo for joining us today. Surprisingly, we've known each other for years. This is the first time we've ever been together.
I know.
For a session, so I'm super excited, and congratulations to Laura winning PMO Influencer of the Year.
Absolutely.
And certainly for Americo for hosting the award. So thank you both for joining us.
Yes,
it's all possible because of Americo. So thank you.
Yeah. So my thoughts on this are,
and his gazillion volunteers. Which is
echoing what Laura and Americo did, and maybe giving a slightly different spin because they were very comprehensive in their answers. When you do a global community, you start finding out the differences in PMOs around the world, just like Americo talked about. And when you meet people from Iran and they start talking about political sanctions and geopolitical things they have to deal with, it's hard to do procurement compared to a PMO in the United States. So you have to be able to understand what's the purpose of your PMO. Right. And within the PMO squad, we've developed our purpose-driven PMO mindset where PMO is purpose, measure, optimize. Right. As Americo said, why are you a PMO? That's your purpose, and work to define that. And in the current state of PMOs, I think we've actually advanced at hyperspeed because of COVID. Pre-COVID, there was so much chatter out there in the industry that PMOs were the dinosaur, they were the process police, they were overhead hierarchy, it was wasted time. COVID, in the snap of a finger, forced every company in the world to change the way they did business. And every organization in the world got to appreciate the value of project execution. And because of that, PMOs advanced at hyperspeed to now be accepted as value delivery partners within the organization. So I think our current state is we're probably better off right now than at any point ever in the history of PMOs because the world changed and we delivered, right? Going back to Laura's point about strategic delivery that Americo touched on as well. If we aren't providing value to the organization, we won't exist. Plain and simple. That's the same for an HR department, an accounting department, the manufacturing department, every department within a company. And that's what PMOs have to be able to do, because remember, the work we lead are projects that are specifically chosen to move forward, right? It's not ongoing operations. They're projects. So PMOs deliver the strategy that companies have chosen to do, not what their business operations are. And if those don't provide value, we're out of work, right? So for me, define the purpose, to understand how you provide value, understand how to be able to measure that, and then go optimize to make sure you're doing it. Good case in point, where we always think big companies when we start talking PMOs and organizations, 98% of the companies in America have 100 employees or less. And we have to make sure that they understand and get the value from project delivery, just like the big companies. So for me, the current state, better than ever. But we're not too far away from where we used to be when people were coming for our heads, where they were saying PMOs were in trouble. So I think we're in a good spot right now, and I look forward to seeing that even evolve further as the world continues to do more digital transformation.
Nice.
Quick note before we go to the second question. A friend of mine runs a PMO in the Boston area. They were planning on rolling out remote technology over the course of the year. They did it in a weekend because they had to. But then, of course, the downside is, why can't you do everything in a weekend? So that's a different story. Second question, if you would, Mark. Drum roll, please.
Hi, Laura. I'm happy that we finally got the opportunity to meet. And I just want to say congrats on your 2021 Influencer Award from the PMO Global Alliance.
You're here.
I think I sent you a mail before, but I finally get the opportunity to say congrats on that.
Thank you.
So, yes. So the second question.
Bring it up and I'll do that one, Mark. And I've not seen it yet, so just roll it up there. Because I can't remember what the heck it was. It's animated, right? So it should come up.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, so it's right there, Laura. Where do you see the impact of digital transformation? Maybe you started to answer that, but continue.
Sure. So first, I just want to say that I agree completely with my esteemed colleagues, Americo and Joe, PMO Joe, sorry, on all that they're sharing here about what's going. The PMO is extremely unique to the needs of the organization, as it should be, right? Like we all, each one of us has a framework or for how we help organizations or teach our students to build PMOs. And so we have a process, each of us, that works, but the outcome that you drive and the results that you create are as unique as the organization's needs. So I agree completely on that. And I will also say that we can probably all agree that the PMO is there to drive change, right? Like they're there to help make change happen. And so the PMO is, actually the perfect organization to help with business transformation, because that's just big change, like any of the other big changes that we've been there to drive over decades of the PMO being successful in doing that. The PMO is there to drive change and help the organization achieve the business outcomes intended. Right. So we all agree that like Americo was saying, is the means to the end, right? And Joe was talking about it too, the tools and the process and all this stuff. It's not what your business leaders say that you're there for. It's what you need to do, the means to achieve the ends that they're looking for, the outcomes that they're looking for. But keeping in mind that digital transformation is all about driving really big change and driving the business outcomes intended, it's the perfect place for the perfect center in the organization for driving that change. And so I think it's clear that if the PMO is built correctly, it's an accelerator to customer value, right? We were talking about that across the board. The PMO is there to drive more customer value. To me, that means it's there to help the organization deliver on strategy as most effectively as possible, with the highest return for investment as possible. But that doesn't mean that every PMO needs to be a strategic PMO. Sometimes the very tactical stuff you're doing as a PMO that could be a part of maybe business transformation initiatives, right? When you get down into what the IT team's doing, it can be pretty tactical and practical stuff. It's still to help the organization achieve those big picture outcomes it's trying to drive. The whole purpose of digital transformation isn't the end in itself either. It's all about helping the organization deliver on that bigger picture strategy. Why are we doing digital transformation? It's to help achieve some bigger picture strategic objectives, right? So I want all of you to think about your PMO. It is a driver of strategy. Even if how you're doing it can be very tactical and practical, you're still there to achieve those results. That's how your business leaders look at what you're trying to do. So, so I think it's really important to understand, one, I like to, take the scary out of it. This is not some big scary new thing, really, but I'm really glad we're bringing this to the forefront of minds of PMO leaders to be thinking about, because you should be at the center of any digital transformation initiatives that are going on in your organization, because no one is as well positioned as you are to see all the mechanisms that need to be in place to drive change effectively. So I think that that is a really great opportunity for PMOs. On the other hand, I also want to say another thing we shouldn't be so scared of is, technology coming and replacing our jobs as project managers and PMO leaders. A lot of people try to scare you, oh, AI or technology is going to replace your work as a project manager. If it is, you were doing administrative work in the first place and not living up to your full potential of what you can actually do for an organization, which is really about the art of project management, relationships, and people, right? Like that's where our magic sauce is. So there's so much more value in that than simply just technology replacing us. So that's another thing I want to make sure people aren't afraid of. I think that we have the greatest opportunity of all to be able to embrace technology and use it to drive bigger change.
Thank you, Laura. And before I just want to acknowledge to the group that we're getting some questions in chat, and we're not ignoring them. We may not get to them here, but we might get to the speakers afterwards. So I apologize if we don't get to them. So, Americo, you're on. Question number 2.
Okay. Again, I will try to share with you some complementary points of view, right? A complementary perspective. We have a group of members at PMO Global Alliance that have been working. They have been working on this concept of digital transformation and business transformation. And we already have some findings, right? The first point is that there is a big confusion about what these concepts really mean, right? So people talk about that all the time, business transformation, digital transformation, but they really don't know what it means, and that's an important point. I don't believe that it's exactly an issue, but it's much more because these concepts are quite new, right? So people are maturing the understanding of these ideas and how they can apply them at their companies or at their PMOs. The second point is that we have 3 levels of transformation, talking about digital transformation. The first level is internally. What I'm saying is how is your PMO using digital transformation, or how are your PMOs under transformation to perform its functions in this digital world, right? So we are talking about the PMO as a service provider. So we can transform ourselves in many different ways, and things that were very usual for PMOs in the last 5-10 years, from now on, we will become to do them in a very different and digital way. So we have the internal project of transforming our PMOs digitally. The second level is how can we use the same concept to transform our company internally. So the PMO is supporting the company in its transformation, but again, we are talking about the internal side of the company. So there are many things that can be done, that could be done. For example, we can start to work remotely at our company, as happened in the last 2 years because of the pandemic. So it's a big transformation, and the digital aspect will be very important to make it happen. So at this perspective, the PMO is helping and supporting the company internally. And the third one maybe is much more connected with the idea of business transformation, that is how the PMO will support the company when they are trying to transform the way that they make business. right? So we are impacting the customers, the company customers. Of course, it's much more complex, right? It's really very related with innovation most of the time. So we can see these three different situations in many different companies. The first one, we are looking internally. The second and the third one, they are quite similar in terms of the way that you will provide the support, because we are talking about projects and we have to support them. Of course, they have specific different objectives, but anyway, the PMO will be responsible for supporting them in many different ways, in a more strategic, more tactical, or more operational way. I see in some specific companies, I visited 2 companies last semester, one in the US, one in Canada, that they created PMOs for their innovation areas. So we are talking about PMOs that are directly connected with their business transformation project. This is a possibility. It could be an enterprise PMO doing that. Yes, why not? So there are many different possibilities, but these 3 levels, I think it's important for us to understand that they exist, because the way that we will set up our PMOs and establish our objectives will be pretty different in some specific aspects.
Very good. Joe, you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, it's always fun being last when you got 2 experts in front of you, right?
We'll make you first in the next one. How's that?
You know, what I would say here is, from a more tactical perspective, I'll answer this, right? What's been great for PMOs through the digital transformation of the past couple of years that's happened is the organization is more accepting of using technology to advance things. For instance, you may have a PPM system that required manager approval to get a resource assigned to a project. And 3, 4, 5 years ago, you would send that request out to the resource manager and you would probably never get a response for it, because it was just another tool that they would have to get into, which was outside the flow of their normal business operations. With everybody going to this remote world that we're in, people are more comfortable now using multiple systems to be able to ensure that the work is getting done. So if I can't go talk to John at the water cooler anymore and ask him, rib him in the side, hey, can you give me Susie to work on my project? The old way that we would do that doesn't exist anymore. The water cooler isn't there. So now they have to go into that system and make that approval to get Susie assigned to your project. So I think digital transformation has allowed some of our fellow coworkers to become more comfortable with digital solutions that help us as project managers execute better on our projects. We have other challenges, right? Being in the remote world brings up different challenges we have to face. But I think it's so important that the people within our company now accept the different tools that we use. We still have a long ways to go to get complete acceptance, of course, but we're making inroads because they're now more comfortable using digital solutions. So echo what Laura and Americo had said from kind of that macro level at the highest level, but tactically, I'm sure PMO leaders and project managers are seeing that on a daily basis now, that these digital tools are helping them be more efficient.
Terrific. You want to bring up the next one, Mark? My last question, I'll let you ask maybe one of our last questions. Bring that one up and we'll see where we go with that. And Joe, I wasn't kidding. I'll make you first. We'll reverse the flow of this. So you can, because Laura and Americo are just too shy to say anything. So we'll make you first. What do we got there, Mark? I think is it the Jim Stewart favorite question? I think it might be. What's the third one? Coming up, Mark?
Yes, it's there, Jim.
Oh, I'm not seeing it. What's it say? Go ahead and read it if you, I'm not seeing it.
What are some risks and challenges do you foresee in the space of adding value to all these organizations or businesses driving the PMO transformation?
Why don't you go ahead, Joe?
Yeah, I think the the remote, in the current world we're in, the biggest risk to me is the remote work, all right, and getting people to be engaged. It was hard to get people engaged in projects when we were all co-located together. But now that we have dispersed teams, what we're finding from our clients that we work with is that maybe some people that were good at project delivery in the past, they're being exposed in this remote world that they're not good leaders of people, right? So we have to help with training. We've a lot of the surveys we've done has seen a dramatic decrease in organizational driven training. It's all come back to the person, right? The individual project manager is going out to get his or her own training out on the web using digital solutions to go do that, right? But what we're missing out on is that PMO organized training to ensure all of their PMs are moving forward with increased skills, right? Project management's not a static profession. It's not something that you get your PMP and you're done, right? I don't need to get trained anymore. Or I get my ACP and I'm done. Or I get my different certifications, whatever they may be. We have to continue our education process. And in this remote world where we're relying on the individual to go do that themselves, I think we're missing out on the collective benefit of the team coming together, having debrief sessions. And I'm not talking the project teams, that's a given. I'm talking the PMO team coming together and sharing their experiences. What did you learn from the project you were just on? What are some best practices that we're getting? What are some new training courses that you've received? So for me, I always, when I think risk, I always put people at the top of the list, right? How do we ensure that the people within our PMO are getting what they need from a training perspective to ensure that we're able to accelerate our projects and deliver them the way we need to?
Americo, can you hear me?
Oh, me? Okay.
Risk
So I fully agree with Joey. I think it's all about people. And if I see an important risk, it would be the fact that because of that, lack of understanding about what all this transformation really means, there is a risk that something happened like what we had in a very near past. I said at the beginning of our call today that many PMOs in the past, they were too focused in the technical stuff, methodology, tools, and I think that the new risk is that, again, we miss the point. We miss the real objective. And instead of understand what people need, right, our customers need, we are really excited about all these new possibilities of technology, and everything will start to spin around, this new technical stuff, you know what I mean? And it will justify the existence of a PMO. But I'm sorry, it doesn't work, right? So you will never be recognized with that. So sometimes you will see what you have in terms of possibilities to make your PMO more digital, to make your company more digital. And sometimes you will realize that, okay, it's nice, but I don't need it right now, or maybe I will never need that, right? So we have to understand that there is a big buzz, around this new things. It's normal. Every year, every 2 years, maybe 5 years, we have new waves, of cool things. They are useful, but they are just one more possibility, one more solution. We have to adapt. We have to evolve. We have to increase the chances of delivering value, and everything will be available for us, including all this digital stuff, to make it happen.
Perfect. Laura?
Yes. Well, I agree completely with everything that Joe and Americo are saying. And now I get to say that because I was last. But absolutely. So I just want to echo two things really quickly. Two major risks that I see right now. They're very complementary to what you're hearing. The first one is people underestimating the importance of organizational change management. A good project manager can get projects done. A great project manager creates high value, sustainable change by doing the change with people instead of to people. So this ensures that you're not just getting work done, but it's done in a way that people embrace so that it doesn't get undone by change resistors the minute you walk away, right? So great project managers don't hit change resistance because they facilitate the change through others, right? So that is not, at least not in the foreseeable future, something we can automate away with digital transformation or any other AI or anything else, because the real work is real people doing the people work, which is all about bringing people through that change process, right? It's all about delivering value, and who can help you do it better, faster, and with a greater return on investment. There's no one better than project managers and PMO leaders, right? And just really quick, when I say return on investment, that's not just dollars. It's about understanding the worth it factor for your business leaders, for your customers, for your stakeholders. Was this worth doing in the first place? And how do we make sure that it's worth doing, right? So the real risks and challenges are people getting overwhelmed, by the term digital transformation and thinking that it's something that the PMO or project managers can't handle, when it's actually the exact work we should be doing. Because like Americo's saying, it's not about the technology and the tools and the process and all that stuff. It's about the people and driving the change through the people so that it's sustainable and value driven and gets the results we're looking for. It's the end that the PMO and the project managers can help drive, not just the means to get to that end. So I think we've got to remember that as we're going through all of this, we're looking, don't get overwhelmed by digital transformation. It's just more change that we are built to help drive. We can totally do this, and we are the best people to do it.
And Mark, if you don't mind, I'll take the fourth one because somebody in chat asked it better than we asked it. I'll remind the panelists we have about 10 or so minutes left, but here's the question. I'll start with Laura. The attendee says, I love we're talking about the PMO, but with Agile being the new buzzword, it's not really new, but it's a buzzword. How can the PMO pivot to aid that aspect? We could talk about this all day. PMO and Agile projects that all have a fuzzy roadmap and fuzzy end goal makes the PMO very vulnerable. So a couple minutes on that, if you would, Laura.
Yeah, sure. So if we're talking about Agile from a mindset perspective, that should be baked into every PMO, because the goal is to build an organization nimble enough to pivot if the needs of the organization change, just like what happened when COVID started coming. I was telling PMO leaders all around the world, don't keep doing what you've already been doing all this time. Do what they need now, right? Like, they're in crisis, and this is your golden opportunity as a PMO leader to step up and step into that. But if we're talking about Agile implementation methods, the focus of the PMO is not an implementation methodology, by the way. You don't want your PMO defined by waterfall any more than you want it defined by Agile. There's no us versus them between PMOs and Agile, as some would have you think. There's no controversy there. The PMO is a lot more than the methodology used to implement projects. That is another means to get to an end, right? Another way to get to the outcomes. The real question for everyone is, how do you help improve the organization's bottom line? How do you help the organization deliver on its strategy with that, to make it worth it? And that's where you want to focus your energy. And the implementation methodology used to do that is dependent upon the business problem you're trying to solve. So of course you do need approaches to get the work done, and Agile is one way to do that. But let's be honest, how many of you have been doing this Agile thing for a lot longer than it's been the next big thing to do, right? Like, how many of your projects, go read the Agile Manifesto. If you haven't, go start there and tell me which one of those things were things you weren't already doing. And iterations, for example, our iterations were just longer, and they were called phase 1 and phase 2 of a project because it took that many iterations to get it right? So that was also the stuff that was happening between design, development, user testing back in the old waterfall days. I think that it's important for us to consider that Agile is much more a state of mind and a way to get work done in a more collaborative manner that we should all be embracing. Our PMO implementation approach is an Agile approach to implementing a PMO, because you don't have answers to all the questions the day you start. That's never been the reality. And I think Agile is a great way to accept that. But to say that Agile never knows where the finish line is nonsense. If you look at it at the 100,000-foot view, you have a strategy you're delivering. The choice in how you get there is really just an unwrapping of all of the things you figure out along the way. And that's normal. That's normal how we figure out big strategy, right? We break it down and we figure out as we go. So I think this is an incredible opportunity for the PMO to, again, drive the right kind of changes and use a more iterative, collaborative approach to getting that work done.
Agreed. Americo, give it a shot. What do you think?
Well, Jim, I will be very honest about that, right?
Okay.
I've been working with Agile for more than 15 years, maybe. It's not something new, right? I have a couple of certifications. I like it very much. I've already recommended that for many clients in my life. But actually, I think that we have to understand something important. There is what Agile really is, and there is what some people try to make Agile looks like, right? So I think, and there is something that proves that today, people are not talking about Agile anymore. The new trend is hybrid approach, right? And what is hybrid approach? It means, okay, you're gonna use what you have to use when it makes sense for you. That's a hybrid approach, right? So actually, what I see is that Agile is one more possibility that you have in your toolbox, right? Sometimes it will make sense for you, sometimes not. Maybe for some companies, maybe not for other companies. We know in management, there is no right and wrong answer, right? There are some apocalypse prophets, that say, no, PMOs will end because of Agile, blah, blah, blah. Usually they are trying to sell something to you, right? So actually, everything will be there. Like look, balanced scorecard. It was created, 3 decades ago. There are many criticisms over the method, but it's still there in many companies, And why? Because it makes sense for some of them. So if I can tell you something about what I really think about that is, you don't need to put all your eggs in one basket. You can just use all of this stuff in the way that you really need them. You should know all of them quite well because they are possibilities, right? But don't feel bad you are not, doing what some people are telling you, because come on, it's not the real matter. We need to do what we have to do. And if it's something valuable for you, as we say here in Brazil, if it's not immoral, illegal, and will not make you get fat, you can do it, right? So it's okay, no problem. So that's my honest opinion about that. I love Agile. I use it today in many projects, but I see, much more, much buzz around that it really deserves, right?
Joe, take it away. Couple minutes left.
Yeah.
Agile guys, please don't hate me, but that's what I feel.
We love it, but we love all the other stuff too.
Right. I look at it from the lens of labels, right? Yeah. We inherited the generations before us who called what we do PMOs, not the name I would pick for us, right?
Right.
We're not a project management office. We're not managing projects. Right. We're providing value to the organization through strategic delivery. But so now what we've done is Americo hit it, boom, nailed it. But what is Agile? I don't even know when we say Agile, are you referring to Kanban, to Scrum, to rapid development, to iterative, there isn't even a definition for what Agile equals. Every company is different. So when people have this debate of you're a PMO or you're an Agile management office, it goes back to what Laura said. That's just the method you're using to deliver your projects. And as Americo said, it should be all of the above. It's whatever is necessary at the right time. But let's add some different context, right? If a PMO, right, if we're thinking about this in the organizational sense of what it is supposed to be delivering strategic work, then what they're doing is enterprise-wide. The methodology is specific to project execution. So if I run a project in Scrum, we'll call it Agile, how do I get budget financing for that? Do I do it sprint by sprint? Or do I go ask for budget approval for the whole project at once, not even knowing what work I'm going to be doing in my sprints? So a PMO has to be able to deliver organizational outputs, right? The outcomes of all of our work, not how we do it. So teach your PMs and make sure that they understand how to do hybrid, agile, waterfall, traditional, iterative, lean, Six Sigma, whatever it may be. Every method that could be used to deliver a project will help your PMO be more successful. But don't think of your PMO in a sense of labels, right? We're a traditional PMO, we're a hybrid PMO, we're an why? You're a delivery organization, right? That's the label I would add. So don't get confused with Agile. Accept Agile, accept them all, accept every method that you need to go deliver the outputs that you want, so that you're doing what, as we've all said, providing value to the organization. So don't have this, one or the other fight. I mean, it's so exhausting to go out there and constantly have that same discussion, but accept them all. Don't turn away from any of them.
And we have a couple minutes left for the last two questions in any order here, I suppose. Quickly,
Jim,
go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I think let's take an adaptive approach here, Jim. So we have the final thoughts, so we could just compress 5 and 6. So say, can you guys give us 1 or 2 pieces of advice? And if you have anything to share, feel free to share with us as your final thoughts.
I guess, Joe, go ahead, since you're always the last guy, be the first guy.
Yeah, this one I'll just say in the spirit of time here, right? What Americo's done with the Global Alliance, what Laura's done with her strategies engine and the summits that she puts on is all about helping our industry get better. And what we've done with the PMO leader is the same, right? It's creating community to allow all of us in our industry to find a place to go network, to go share, to go learn from one another and help each other deliver better. Right? When we deliver better, we all win. And I'm a big fan of both Laura and Americo and what they're doing. And I think what we want to do is embrace everybody, right? Learn from one another. Again, it doesn't have to be, should I be part of the PMO Global Alliance or the PMO leader? Why aren't you a member of both? Because there's a different value to being part of that. It's the same as Agile or Waterfall. It's an exhaustive, non-necessary discussion, right? Be part of all of it. Attend Laura's conferences and summit, attend her impact engine training, right? Learn from everybody in this industry, and that will help you get better. So I'm about being as inclusive and welcoming to everybody in our industry as we can be. That's my takeaway for everyone.
Marco, got a quick summary for us?
Americo?
Is it me? Okay.
Yes.
I fully agree with Joey, and I would like to say something else that is every time that you have a chance to learn more about what people are doing, you should take this opportunity, not only because it's obvious that you will learn from that, but what is important is not try to find someone or some company to follow, Actually, when we talk about PMOs, we need to create our own solutions. So when you can know more about what people are doing around the world, it will inspire you to create your own solutions, right? That's something interesting because today, at the beginning of our meeting, Joey said something important. He said that support areas like marketing, finance, they are generating value for companies. Yeah, I agree. But look, all of them generate value for companies in a very similar way. What they do is quite similar, for the most traditional support areas. PMOs are support areas, but if you take 10 PMOs right now, you'll see people doing things totally different, and they can be successful with that. So see, it's a totally different phenomenon. So you never should just, copy or follow someone, some solution, believing that it will be the best or it will be your solution. Even the best solution for you now will not be the best solution for you tomorrow, next year, right? So keeping your mind open, learn from all these experiences at the PMO Leader Community, at PMO Global Alliance with Laura and many other great professionals and communities that we have around the world, and prepare yourself to create your own solutions. That's what will make a difference in your career and for your companies.
That, Laura, if you can wrap up in 1 minute, we'll give you a medal.
Sure. So I second everything that these lovely gentlemen are saying with respect to your own self-development and continuous improvement. And I just want you all of you PMO leaders, all of you out there are impact drivers, all of you listening today. Your success, though, not just in your eyes, but in the eyes of your stakeholders and your business leaders, is not how perfect you make your outputs, but how successfully you drive the business outcomes that they're looking for. It's not how fancy the tools are, the templates, or how many you have. It's not even about how much budget you manage, because you're looking at it all wrong when you think about the budget numbers. You need to be looking at how much value you're generating for the organization that was worth doing and how much return you drive for the organization. And when you shift from this outputs to outcomes thinking, the entire value and impact you can have for the organization explodes. That's how you get your seat at the table, and that's how you make the impact that you're supposed to make. And you did ask us about giveaways. I have a few free webinars. I just put a link in there in the chat, pmostrategies.com/value. That is a great place to start for some free training that I'm doing this month to help you figure out how to make the biggest impact and the most value in your organization. And definitely reach out to me on LinkedIn. I got tons of other freebies, and of course the PMO Strategies podcast, where you hear all this kinds of stuff as well.
Great. Mark, you want to wrap it up?
Okay, awesome. Thanks again, Joe, Americo, Laura. It was a great panel discussion, and I personally think you guys have schooled us with the different perspectives, looking at PMO from a hybrid and adaptive way, people change, value, and to also think about making an impact on the business, we really appreciate that. And I also want to thank our esteemed audience for coming out today, So as we've stated before, this is a bi-monthly show, So look out for our upcoming shows where we will be talking to industry leaders, technology service providers, and who are creating a lot of buzz in the PMO and the digital transformation space. So I just want to say thank you guys for coming out. My excitement has been quelled, I must say. Yeah, and I'm definitely looking forward to being here for you guys in the upcoming shows.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.